My Lords, I welcome the spirit, particularly of this group of amendments. I'm not clear that I understand entirely how the independent review process might work, but I do understand the importance of having an independent review process, and I think the case was made convincingly by the noble Baroness, Lady Finn. I think, despite the fact that we're whizzing through these amendments at great speed, I don't think it would be right to underestimate the huge amount of power that this bill gives the Cabinet Office. I feel as though it's sort of, it appears to be a sort of atmosphere of consensual, camaraderie, which is very pleasant to be involved in. Maybe what I'm less used to. But I also want to emphasise the amount of concern outside of this House about the implications of this bill, and the people who are concerned aren't all hucksters or fraudsters. I mean, they're ordinary people who genuinely have fears about what the possibilities of the unintended, absolutely unintended consequences of the bill if we don't have adequate safeguards. So I'm very keen on anything that strengthens safeguards. And I think, therefore, that we should really consider, I hope the government will consider seriously these amendments. I think they're very helpful. I'm particularly keen, of course, that liable persons, as they're described, deserve to have somewhere that they can appeal to, that they can go to. They deserve to know, as was suggested, that if they have legitimate concerns, that they will be heard. So much of what appears to me to be in this bill happens behind the backs of liable persons, and it creates an atmosphere of fear and suspicion and nervousness. And I don't think that people are just being paranoid here. I do think that if you consider, and it's been mentioned before, it'll come up again no doubt, the Horizon scandal, there is nothing more frustrating than feeling that you have been somehow treated badly and you don't know where to go. You have nowhere to appeal to. Because it's not happened to you. It's happened to you that maybe in the course of a perfectly legitimate explanation that you have for something. What we saw in Horizon was that the computer says no. What we could have here is that the Cabinet Office, who just imposed something on you, is not going to take any notice if you should go and complain. So I think that was a very important part, that people deserve to know, need to be able to hear that their concerns can be heard, and so on. And just finally, I suppose, I think that there is a danger sometimes in this discussion that certainly I fear that if one raises issues of concern about this bill, that there is an inference that one is not taking fraud seriously. And that is just absolutely not the case. I have constantly, for example, made the point that I worry about the distinction between error, the conflation of error and fraud, but that doesn't mean to say that where there's genuine fraud that we shouldn't want to clamp down on it as hard as we can. But I think it's also fair enough that we need to have a system that there's public confidence in. In order for fraudulent activity really to be clamped down, and we have to have a watertight, safeguarded bill that targets fraud and not picks up any number of other non-fraudulent issues that will undermine public confidence. So I thought that the intention of these amendments would really help enhance public confidence, that there is a mechanism through which an independent body can review a process that could be corrupted inadvertently by a department having the capacity to mark its own homework, and in that instance not always see the wood for the trees when people raise concerns.